Hello, everybody. I'm back. We're going to be talking about man and the creation. So, God wanted this world to be a visible representation of his attributes, his invisible attributes, and his internal power and divine nature. And we can see this in the chapter or the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 20. And I'll read it for you. It says, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse." And all of God's creation is very good and was meant to give man provision and refreshment. And man, when he fully appreciates the beauty and intelligence of all things created, is a representation of the beauty and intelligence of the Creator. And it'll be able to form a healthy relationship with the world around him. But we're not to love the world, nor to become attached to it or to things or inanimate things, objects. So, as to worship the creation rather than creator is a problem. So, I know there's some religions out there that are going to worship cows. They might be worshiping trees, the sun, the stars, Mother Earth. There's just different things that we have to be very careful with as far as what we're placing above the creator. We are to enjoy the creation, but we are not to worship the creation, only the creator. And there are curses attached to some objects. Soul ties can be formed with objects as well as with people. And through objects, it's through sentimental attachments. Like you might feel, or you might hear someone say, "I cannot part with it," or "I can't live without this." And you need to be careful whenever you have that mindset, because you might be placing that a little bit more important than God, or you might be worshiping that. If you can't lay something down, then you need to really talk to the Holy Spirit and see, what is my relationship with this item? And am I creating a ungodly soul tie with this item? And man can become so soul bound to an animal, even. And yes, I have horses, I have chickens, I have dogs, I have cats, and I love my horses. But whenever we put an animal or a pet even above God, there's a problem there. You can create an unhealthy soul tie there too. So we have to be careful about that. And attaching too much importance to things, or to allow places places allows such items to become idols for us. So we don't want our pets to become idols. We don't want to start worshiping the horses. I love my horses. I'll do almost anything I can to keep them healthy, but God will come first. And I know that if I place my pets above him, he can take them away, because he is a jealous God, and he created these pets. Actually, they're all his. The horses are all his, the cats are his. So I have to make sure that God is always above my horses, who I do love, and my cats. I love them too, because they're all like my children. I love my children more than my animals, so don't get me wrong. There, we should love our family more than our pets, but we need to be careful on that attachment. And we can read something about this in First John, chapter 2, verse 15. It says, "Love not the world, nor the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him." That's a pretty strong statement. So we need to really be careful with what we are placing above God. And that includes drugs, cigarettes, alcohol. Are we placing those above God? Because they can become our idol too. Anything that we can't let go of becomes an idol. And man has perverted the love of God and replaced it with the love of the world, his creation. Man has formed a soul tie with the created instead of the creator. So you'll see they're like New Age. They have a lot of um, love for trees And for nature, they really kind of worship the nature. And the nature is good to take care of and enjoy because it was created for us, but we are not to be worshiping it. We are supposed to only worship the Creator, not the creation again. And there's three verses I'm going to read that talk about this. The first one is First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 20. And it says, I say that things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons and not to God. And I do not want you to become sharers in demons. Okay, and then we have Joshua 23, verse 12 and 13. For if you ever go back and cling to these nations and intermarry with them, so that you associate with them and they with you, know with certainty that the Lord your God will not continue to drive these nations out from before you, but they will be a snare and a trap to you, and a whip on your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from off this good land which the Lord your God has given you. Okay, and the last one is Romans chapter 1, verse 22 and 25. Says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like the corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Okay, so God is not going to allow us to worship what He's created. Some Something's going to happen. We're going to end up with a curse on us or something, because He's a very jealous God and He's not going to allow us to worship anything other than Him. And these attachments can open a way for demonic invasion of our life. And Matthew states that one cannot serve two masters, and that's in Matthew 6:24. And to be linked to Christ means to view His creation as a revelation of the Creator. Okay, so the creation is not our Creator. And that goes the same with people, because we are part of the creation too. So some people can worship another person and actually put that person above God. Look at the entertainment industry. They go crazy over some actresses and actors, and they can put all their focus and their eyes will remain on them. Well, they're lifting that person up above God because their focus is more on that person than it is on Jesus. Or same within sports, that their focus may be focused on a particular player in sports, and they spend all their time following and studying their stats and all of this other stuff rather than spending time with God. So that could be placing that person above God, which becomes an idol. And it is possible for man to bind himself to demons by turning a created thing into an object of worship, or by seeking protection from it, which is witchcraft, such as, now I am Native American, so some dream catchers, when made, they're they're made with the purpose of to catching bad dreams, and when the sun comes, they disappear through the hole of the web. Well, that item is a way that we can open a door for demonic activity. So, because it's like a lucky charm, or it's something that we're counting on to give us better dreams, and not take away bad dreams. Well, the Holy Spirit is the only one that should be doing that. We should not be relying on an object, or even like a rabbit's foot. I know as a kid, that was a big thing, is to have a rabbit's foot for luck. Well, that also could open up a door for demonic activity, because I'm depending on that rabbit's foot for luck rather than asking God for favor, His favor. So there's just some items that we really need to be careful of that we may not be even thinking about. So now we're going to talk about the union with a spouse and the family. In the marriage union, husband and wife become one flesh, as seen in God's command to Adam and Eve, and that's a good thing. And in Genesis 2:24, it says, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife. They shall become one flesh. So that soul tie is what God had intended is for marriage. Now, the first soul tie was designed and intended for the first couple, which was Adam and Eve. And the first command or principle given to man regarding marriage. God required the man entering marriage to and leave his family and cleave to his wife, and that he should break the emotional soul ties and control of his parents, replacing them with a godly soul tie by cleaving to his wife. Now, in some marriages, that hasn't happened, and so it causes problems within the marriage itself, because if the husband has not broken those ties from his parents, if he continues to have to call his mom for it, for every little thing, or complain to his mom that the wife's cooking is not like hers, and continuously wanting the parents to step in and do things, and just wanting the control of the parents over his life or her life, because it could be her too. She could be, maybe stuck with her mom or her dad and not, you know, broken those ties yet. She's going to follow what they say to do rather than discuss it with her husband. So we have to be very careful. That's something that is not healthy in the marriage. We need to make sure that we have cut the ties with our parents. I mean, we still love them, we still contact them, we still, care for them, help them whenever they need help, but we're not having them parent us while we're in our relationship with our spouse. So God speaks of making of two individuals into one new flesh, or a single individual. So two people, when they become married, they actually become one, and they should be thinking as one, and they both should be making decisions as one. One should not be dominating the other, because they should be one. And that's another problem in a lot of marriages, is they're not one, they're still two people. So the visible memorial of this union is the child with which the union is blessed. So once you have a child within the marriage, that's actually considered a blessing from God. And in Matthew 19:6, it says, "So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate." I know divorce is very high now, and it's very rare that we see a marriage that began with just those people and ended with just those people, never divorced. But that was God's intent, was for us to have just one marriage and stay together. And if you're married now for your first time, or even your second or third, if you start trying to make sure that you become one and follow God's directions for marriage, you'll have a much more successful marriage. And because man's deepest emotions involve his feelings towards his mate or his spouse, or potential spouse, even while they're dating, this is a primary area for a soul tie danger. Okay, man has mistakenly regulated marriage to an agreement between two people rather than a lifelong God ordained covenant tie. So a lot of times we're looking at a relationship as, oh, this, maybe for a year or two, we date to see, who might be good. We might date many, many different people. And then if you cross that boundary, of course, and become intimate with those people, that's creating soul ties that you're continuing on, because once you have sex or intimate sex with someone, you have definitely created a soul tie, because you've become one flesh with that person. And so this is going to be brought into every relationship you have and every marriage you have. So you can kind of see where the problem is because you're carrying baggage from the other person into the next relationship. So it's very important that we teach our young people now that dating doesn't mean intimate sex, that you need to really be careful of what you do with people. Okay, and a lot of arrangements between people, at least 50% of the cases become doomed to failure. So the divorce rate is very high now. So man was incomplete by design. He was designed with a need for a helpmate, and God knew from the beginning, from the planning stage, that man was incomplete, and said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." And that's out of Genesis 2:18. And there exists in man, as created, a need for a relationship, and the absence of that relationship leaves a void unless filled with God. So we have something missing in our heart, and God is the only one that can fill that. Now, marriage was originally intended, as seen in the case of Adam and Eve, to be covenant agreement between two people of the opposite sex whom God had made for each other. The covenant was pronounced in Adam's own words, which is in Genesis 2:23 through 24, and it states, "This is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh." So, by its nature, marriage existed with two dimensions: a horizontal dimension between the two parties, and a vertical dimension in which they recognize themselves to be under and indebted to God for one another. So, there, I like to describe this as a triangle. So, we have the husband here, the wife here, and then God is up here. So, this is how they're thinking. This is how the marriage should be. And as you get closer to each other, or to God, as you get closer to God, you start moving closer to each other. So if God becomes your, in both relationships, you're one and only, and you're in line with him, look what happens. You two are way up here and very close to each other. And if one spouse is leading their way to God, but the other one's not, there's a problem. It may be even getting further apart. So think about the triangle, because it's very important that as you grow within Christ, that you grow together, the husband and the wife, because you will become even closer and close knit together within your relationship. Okay. I forgot where I was. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Got to look at my notes because I forgot where I was. Okay. I think the first soul tie was designed and intended for the first couple. In the first command or principle given to man regarding marriage, God required the man entering marriage to leave and cleave. That is, he should break the emotional soul ties. I think I already said that. I think we're past that already. Let me look here. Okay, I think that's pretty much all that I'm going to go through right now. But if you're having problems in relationships or past relationships or in marriage, just remember that you might have brought stuff from other relationships in. So a lot of people realize that if you're in a toxic relationship and you break up and you get into another relationship, many times you end up with another toxic relationship. And that's because you have been bound to somebody that was toxic. And so you're carrying some of that stuff with you into the next relationship. And then if that relationship doesn't go well and you end it, you've now taken some of that stuff into the next relationship. So you're bringing baggage with you. And so it's very important that we cut the baggage off, or we cut the ungodly soul ties off, so that we can have a godly relationship, whether it be with friends, whether it be with a spouse, parents, whoever it might be with. It's very important that we break off anything negative, bad, that was in a different relationship in the past. So we'll go on further with this. And if you've missed any of my other videos, they're under soul ties and relationship bonds. So you can go back and look at that. If you have any questions, you can message me. And I hope you have a wonderful day today. And just remember the triangle. If you're married, the closer you get to God, the closer you become to each other. Okay? So thank you and God bless.